And if you follow these 6 steps, you will absolutely be able to jack any iOS game out there easily. Hello everybody, it's me, Game Jacker, and today we're talking about iOS game jacking. I'm going to show you how to jack basically any game on your iOS device. I'm going to give you the complete tutorial, the how-to, the step-by-step guide on how to get it done in 100% of cases. Now, this might not be easy because iOS game jacking generally is a little bit more difficult than the opposing mobile operating systems, which is of course Android, but we're gonna get right into it, and it absolutely works for pretty much any game out there that you're looking to cheat in. But first, before we get started, of course, if you've ever used your local Google or your local search engines to find any kind of game jacks for your iOS games or other games, you may have run into this kind of stuff. You know, these impossible cheats that advertise unlimited gems, unlimited everything, unlimited money for all kinds of games out there. Just download this mod, just use this generator, and it never works because they're all scams. Now, if you want to actually find legitimate cheats for your iOS games or other games, what you need to do is you need to head over to hackerbot.net. Just simply Google hackerbot or game hacks hackerbot. Go to hackerbot.net. Go to our download cheats section to find actual legitimate cheats from the best providers out there that have a clean track record of providing you with useful and working cheats and cheating apps for iOS, Android, Windows, and so on. And avoid all the scams and all the weird stuff you might find on Google, all the malwares and other weird stuff. Anyways, let's get back to the topic at hand. iOS game jacking. What's the step-by-step guide on how to get it done? Now, as I mentioned, iOS game jacking is a little bit more complicated than, for example, on Android, but it's still possible. There are mods and game jacks and jacking tools for iOS, absolutely. However, they are a little bit more difficult to install and get working in most cases. Also, your relative risk is going to be higher. I'm not going to get into jailbreaking or any of that because, of course, you guys know that that is a huge risk that you're taking when you're actually jailbreaking your iOS device. You take the risk of breaking the device and so on. Anyways, the step-by-step guide. How do you get 100% of cases a working cheat for any game out there on your iOS device? So the first one I've already mentioned. Use hackerbot.net to find legitimate cheats for your iOS game. You do that by simply heading over to hackerbot.net. As I've said, Google hackerbot or game hacks. Go to our download cheats section and follow the guide on how to use our tool. Now, this is actually pretty easy. All you're going to want to do is enter the name of your game. For example, Free Fire. And then ideally, you would enter the current version of the game. You'll find a tutorial on how to check the version down below, and then iOS mod. And you will find from legitimate providers, legitimate mods for the game that you're looking for. Now, make sure, first of all, that this mod is up to date. Make sure the game version that is displayed on your iOS device for the game is the same version as the game mod before installing it. Now, these game mods come in two different varieties, okay? There are ones that require a jailbroken device, and there are ones that do not require a jailbroken device. Make sure you follow the installation instructions to a T, very carefully. If you're not following the installation instructions for these modded iOS apps correctly, they will simply not work, or you might even get automatically banned. So please be very careful when you're installing this stuff. Follow the guides correctly. They sometimes include very powerful cheats. For example, in this case, we have aimbots, ESP cheats, and other stuff included, and oftentimes they come even for free. Some of them are, of course, premium, but a lot of them are free. You simply need to have a jailbroken device or the tools to install mods for non-jailbroken devices. For non-jailbroken devices, you'll need a sideloader or an alt store, and many times you will need a PC to actually transfer the files over to your actual iOS device to get the mods working. So, if that does not work, now this was number one. What do you do if that doesn't work? But if you say, let's say you look for a game, maybe it's not popular enough, there are no mods, or the mods are paid and you don't want to pay to have your game jacks, especially if you don't know the provider yet. Now, the second option, as most iOS games, especially the popular ones these days, are online games. So that means they connect to a server. The server stores all the important values, such as your gems and money and health and items and so on. These games can very often be farmed, automatically farmed, using bots. Now, a bot, of course, is an automated tool that will simply play the game for you, so you don't have to. You can go about your life. You can do life stuff, like, getting a girlfriend or something, and you can just have the bot do its thing in the background while you enjoy the joys of life and the stress of life every single day. And then you come back to the game and just enjoy the spoils, the gems, the money, the items, the waifus, whatever it is that you're looking for from your favorite games. So bots, if you just head over to just Google HackerBot game bot, or just head over to the link down in the description to get our guide on how to jack any iOS game, and follow the link, you will find not only the guide on what bots actually are, but you will also find the tutorial in our tutorial section on how to actually create your own bot. Now, this is done usually using macro editors, which is basically a tool that records the things that you do on your device and then replays it. So basically, what you can do using these tools, especially in combination with image recognition, which some of these tools can actually do, the better ones, you can create loops and if loops and decision-making trees that will automatically farm games with a static navigation, even using image recognition, non-static navigations. So basically, let's do just an example. In my Android emulator, of course, this is blasphemy to use an Android emulator. What a bot can, for example, do, it can record all your keystrokes. Let's say this is the main menu. You go into a mission, you do the mission, you get out of the mission, close the mission, you go back to the main screen, and then that is one loop. Then you stop recording and you replay that infinitely. That's a bot that will farm this particular mission forever. And then you can add new loops to that and new procedures as you please. And of course, with Android, that is a lot easier than with iOS, because for Android you have stuff like emulators, which allow you to use macro tools on PC on your emulator. But on iOS it's still possible to do, though a lot harder, because there are no actual legitimate emulators, especially jailbreakable emulators for iOS whatsoever. But it can still be done using software that allows you to remote control your iOS device, which allows you to then record macro scripts on PC to control your iOS device, or on Mac. And these tools also exist for Mac. The links, as always, will be down in the description. And if you like this content, while you're down in the description, leave a like, leave a comment, tell me how you managed to jack your first iOS game, or if you decided to not bother with it because it was too complicated for you. So that would be very interesting to know for me as well, because personally I have stuck to Android because it's simply easier. So if you are deciding to jack your games on iOS, you are playing the game on hard, because it's definitely the hardest mobile platform to get working cheats for. However, it can absolutely be done. You just simply, for every one of these, you can do those on Android as well, and it's a lot easier. So now another thing you can try is game jacking tools. Now these tools, again, link in description, are tools that, like iGameGuardian, they are basically cheat engine. If you know that tool from PC, it's the #1 memory editor for PC. Allows you to get unlimited money, scan for the value. Let's say you have 700 money, you scan for it, you change it, and then you get the money value, you change it to 99999, you have unlimited money. So that's what iGameGuardian, for example, can do. Game Jam as well, of course, mods, and there are other apps as well. Of course, HackerBot is, of course, the best, in our opinion, game jacking app, as it allows you to find legitimate software from anywhere, amassing all the best cheats in one place for you to simply find and download. So For this list and for the tools down in the description as well. Now, these will always require a jailbroken device since they need to have root access to your actual iOS device to edit the memory of a particular game. So be aware of that. And again, rooting always a risk. Do it at your own risk. I'm not advising you to root your iOS device. I am actually kind of advising against it. I have never even rooted an actual physical Android device because, well, I don't want to lose the device, and it's pretty expensive sometimes. So why would I? It's not necessary, as there are emulators for Android. With iOS, you need to risk your phone in order to get these kinds of perks. So if it's a shooter, number 4, if it's a shooter game, like an FPS, where you shoot people, you can use aimbots. Now, aimbots, again, if you go to hackerbot.net, if you go to our wiki, of course, we all know the aimbot, the most toxic and the most overpowered cheat of them all. Automatically aims for you, automatically shoots. Look for mods that include this feature. They do absolutely exist. Over here, you have one of the examples. They are not always free, but they are amazing when you find them. Of course, use with caution and respect your fellow players, else you will be reported and permanently banned, and you'll probably deserve it. So that much about that. Of course, then 5, please stay safe when you're doing this kind of stuff. If you, again, link in the description, there are guidelines that we outline for staying safe. Don't just go to Google and Google whatever game jack, because you will find a lot of fakes, malware, all kinds of weird stuff. Don't use it. Never use any generator that claims to give you unlimited everything, especially because that's not how game cheating works. That's how it has never worked on any platform ever has an online website been used to jack a game. That's not how reality works. So these things will always be fake at the very least, and sometimes they will be worse than fake, which are words that YouTube doesn't like. So I'm not going to say all the malware words, okay? The malware words. It's just, don't do it, okay? Don't do it, especially on a jailbroken device where the app that you're installing, this questionable app, will have admin access to all your stuff. So please don't, for your own sake, do not, all right? Do your background research, do a reputational research on any website that you're downloading stuff from. Even if you go to hackerbot.net by googling hackerbot, even the sites on our search, even those, like if you've never downloaded one of the cheats featured on hackerbot.net, still do your reputation research. Go out there, Google X site reviews, Google X site, is it legit, is it a scam? And do your own research before you trust these people. A lot of the time you'll have to sign up for their website anyway, so while you're waiting for the confirmation email, just go and Google, do your due diligence to make sure that the reputation of the website is flawless. Now, of course, with the sites featured on hackerbot.net, we do make sure to check their reputation regularly, but there is always, please don't just trust anybody when it comes to this kind of stuff. Just do your own research as well. Of course, also the uploader on the site, usually there are forums and individual users are allowed to upload stuff. So also do your due diligence on researching the reputation of any individual uploader from any individual file that you're downloading, to make sure that they have a good track record of uploading good stuff and that they're not shunned by the community. So that's also very important. Make sure to check also the comments underneath any download that you're looking to download. Make sure the version is correct, that it's up to date. Make sure the last comments are still saying it's clean, it's working. Before you download anything, please do that for your own sake, for your own safety. Also, virus scans are always highly recommended before you, especially on a jailbroken or rooted device. Before you install anything, please run it through some kind of virus scan. Have an antivirus on your device while you're at it. Please be safe. Of course, anything that you're downloading that is not part of the App Store, that is not sanctioned by even stuff that you download from the App Store can potentially be infected. So especially then with stuff that you're downloading just for free on some random cheating website, be careful, please, always. And again, as I've already mentioned, please follow the installation instructions that come with any kind of software that you're downloading very carefully, because most of the problems that people have with installing mods is because they simply don't follow the installation instructions carefully enough, and they miss stuff, and then it doesn't work, and they're stuck, and they don't know how to restart, and it's just a whole deal. Please do make sure to do that. And also, again, if you're using any kind of really powerful cheat, please use common sense. If you're just running around headshotting everybody through walls, you're going to get reported. Your account is going to get banned. You're going to have a bad time. So please respect people. Do keep in mind that in online games, which most of these games these days are, you are interacting with other people, and you do want to be social. Please use your aimbot only when your team gets spawn capped, or if you're at a huge disadvantage, to even the odds rather than just dominate the whole game and just be a huge prick. All right. Anyway, so that is basically that. If you're looking to, if you're looking for these cheats and you're still not able to find anything, so you followed all these steps and you're still unable to find anything, then and I know it's blasphemy, what I would recommend you is use Android. And it doesn't cost you a single dollar, because the great thing, well, again, blasphemy to say great things about Android in an iOS video, of course. And I recognize that. I also I respect the people of the religion of iOS, but Android has emulators, and that is a huge advantage that Android has over iOS. It's also a lot more developer friendly because of that. Like, I have developed an app for Android, it's HackerBot APK, and I could easily test it just using an emulator. Like on iOS, I wouldn't even know how to begin to start to test an app that I'm writing. It's just easier to develop, and that is also why there is a better variety of cheating software available for Android games. And if you are at a dead end, you've tried everything for to make cheats work on iOS, what I would recommend you is head over to Android instead. Basically, there's the same game. Sometimes you can even use the same account to play on Android that you used to play on iOS, and basically there's, it's the same games, and it's just easier to cheat. So, and there's emulators, and the great thing about emulators is that you can basically, if something goes wrong, if you by some chance download a fishy app and your device gets infected, your emulator gets infected, there's no harm done. You can reset the emulator. You can uninstall it if something went really, really wrong. You can reinstall it, and no harm done. You can start from a clean slate. Everything's all right. And rooting is even included in the options of many of these emulators. All I have to do with this one is just simply check the root button, and my device is jailbroken. I can install any app that I want. I can do whatever I want. I can give admin rights to any app that I like. And yeah, if something goes wrong, I uninstall, I reinstall, and no harm done. So that is just for those of you, again, it's blasphemy to say that, but in the end, that is also an option that you need to keep in mind. Of course, do watch out for all the cheats that advertise impossible cheating options. Again, unlimited money in online games that require the internet to run is generally a scam in 99% of cases. Be aware of that. And yeah, that is basically that. Be very careful where you download stuff. Head over to hackerbot.net by Googling hackerbot or game hacks to find legitimate cheats from the best providers out there. And most of them are free or have free versions available. Anyways, guys, that is from me. That is everything from me. And I will see you guys next time. Have fun cheating, and I'll see you guys. Game Jacker out.